Is the title All Truth, No Facts?
No, the podcast is called Off Topic Truth.
Off Topic Truth. Yeah.
Off Topic Truth. So this was actually a series, and I didn't even mention it, but it was called Cry Call Commission. So the first cry was what mentees, like we had dudes like, I don't know if you know Nodi, Stanley, Evan, all those guys were here, and then I think we also had Jethro here, and we just processed what it was like. That's all we did, we just process in an unfiltered way. But the reason why this part was really significant is because you guys brought the call and the commission. So calling things that you see out in the black community, and commission, okay, go do this, go do that. So that's exactly what happened today. And yesterday we recorded with a group of ladies, and they brought that. They brought that fire.
Ladies are great.
And they got a chance to process and highlight different things that women go through, and also like different injustices that they face in the community. Because what I realize is there's a lot of programs for black men, like black mentorships, black this, black that. But like when it comes to women, black women in particular, there's not that much mentorship.
You could do a whole thing on that.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that are left to pick up all of the pieces. So even when we lose our life, like they're the ones that's now left with having to grieve, figuring that whole thing out, now raising, daughters, sons, sometimes too, and with very little
resources and support. Oh, we about to take off.
Yeah, waiting on you, man.
All right, let me record myself.
You can't handle the truth.
What's good, y'all? My name is Billingson Gene, and you tuned in with Off Topic Truth. Hashtag All Truths, No Facts.
All truth, no facts. All truth, no facts.
Oh, I got you. All truth, no facts.
This boy smooth it.
What up? My name is Ryan Beecher. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana, here in Florida. Now, graduate, University of Florida. I was a pastor for a number of years, about a decade at Greenhouse Church in Gainesville, Florida. And now outside of the church space, back in the business world, is a business owner of two businesses, one called 𝐭𝐫𝐞 and 𝐂𝐵𝐻, the other is called Legacy Visioneering, and also a licensed real estate agent as well.
Hi, everybody. Jason Mitchell, hailing from Duval County, Jacksonville, also a UF alum. Currently, I am involved with Racial Reconciliation Ministry, specifically an organization called Be the Bridge, and also involved with the Gainesville Community Reinvestment Advisory Board, where we're trying to make changes in the city and as well as the county.
Hey y'all, my name is 𝐭𝐫. I am a recent graduate from the University of Florida in mental health counseling, and I will be a PK Young high school counselor starting this fall. That's a little bit about me.
That's the alma mater, bro. I appreciate it.
Just thinking about a little bit, some of the leaders that I had access to growing up, and some of those leaders who played like a really big part in my life were all European white men. And growing up in the hood, I didn't really see too many. I mean, I had coaches that kind of invested into me a little bit. I had a youth pastor named Dr. Patrick Jules. He did a pretty good job at like investing into me. But as I got to high school and college, the majority of the access that I had was white leaders. And what began to happen is when, at least for me, when they would speak into me or call things out that they saw in me, like, hey, I think you can do this, or I see myself in you, like there was always a disconnect. Like the reality to me was like, you don't look like me, you don't speak like me, you don't come from where I come from. Like, so what you're saying is true, but it's not my experience, and nor do I think you can relate to it. So a lot of times, for me, I would kind of just, I feel like I would hit like a plateau, like in my growth under white leaders. But as I started growing up a little bit more, I started gaining more access to black leaders, and it was like a complete shift for me. Not that the white leaders wasn't good or anything like that, but the impact that the black leaders had on me, to me, felt far more significant just because they looked like me. A brother of mine, Caleb Shambliss, he's actually on this show. At one of his TEDx talks in Ocala, he spoke on representation and why it mattered. And the more and more I grow, the more and more I realize that representation does matter. One thing that I have the privilege that most blacks don't, young black males don't, is access to these leaders, but to also be able to process with these leaders. But even to like some of the young black men that are listening right now, and black women that are listening, just the black community as a whole, like as mentors, as community developers, like what do you say to them? What is black excellence? What words of encouragement? What's the next step?
I mean, one thing, just quickly I'll add, is that I think even things like this and the platform that you have are great, because you started this whole thing off mentioning how, as great as it was having, people who didn't necessarily look like you pour into you. There's value in that, because I think we need to know that people who don't look like us actually do care about us and value us. But at the end of the day, having people who look like you is also just as important, because there's always that level of what you described of, that's great that you have done that and you can encourage me in certain things, but you don't see yourself, in necessarily that role. What's crazy is I don't know, I might be dating myself. The people who might remember a show that came on way back in the day called A Different World. So on Amazon Prime or Amazon Video, that's on there. So
I'm watching tonight.
Yeah, so yes. I've been watching, just the show, and I'm going through it, and I'm like, this is crazy, because I'm watching episodes that are literally having conversations and addressing issues that you could put it in front of like a 13-year-old and they would think that this is talking about exactly where we are right now. And this was back in like 90, 92, and the conversations are so pertinent for where we are, right now. So, going back to your original question, I don't want to get too off topic, is one encouragement I would give is to people to not be, feel like they need to be apologetic about, their blackness and who they are and their identity. One of the things that I never realized, because I grew up in a really unique situation, because my grandparents were kind of in the hood of New Orleans, but my parents had done pretty well. So it was like my grandparents would pick me up every day. So I'm in the hood right after school. That's where I'm spending all my time. But then my parents pick me up, and then I'm going to, where we're around basically all white people. We're only, one of the few black families that are there. High school was the same thing, very, affluent. School, where the majority of the people that look like me, a lot of us people only saw as athletes, get to college. A lot of church spaces the same. And so I say all that to say is I didn't realize, and one of the things that I saw as a result of the George Floyd, how much I had actually become steeped in white supremacy, to where even a lot of the things that I think I sought approval from, that approval was stemming from the approval of a white person. Because it was so much of what I spent my time in, who I was around. And this is almost like, for me, has like unleashed something in me to where, it is just unapologetically black right now. 5 years ago, I would be nervous to actually say, I'm talking to the black people right now. Like, I need to talk to the black people. This is for the black people. Like, this is, and just be totally unapologetic. And this is who we are. This is what we need to do. This is how we need to come together, because of the spaces that I was in. And so I think one thing is for people, even just not feeling guilty about knowing that there is a call that our community has right now that we need to answer, and not feel guilty about that, and feeling like we have to almost fight for this, but at the same time we still got to be a shield for the white people that are around us.
Black excellence.
I think, especially talking to the youth, we have to teach them that black excellence doesn't mean you have to be super exceptional. Like, and what I mean by that, because I know people are going to hear this and be like, you don't want my child to be exceptional. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, Jake, you made a point, right? That we got to be 10 times better to get the same opportunities. We got to teach them that we don't. We can be as best as we can be, and within our sphere of influence or within our opportunities, we can make our own way. We don't have to, I think you hit on it perfectly about, us stemming from, and the generations before us, having some kind of deep-rooted want to be accepted by white supremacy. And now, over the course of time, we've seen black people do exceptional things by just being themselves, and being good at something that nobody else is either good at, or if they are good at, they just outworked everybody. It doesn't necessarily mean they're super genius, or, the LeBron Jameses come every once in a blue moon when you're that gifted that early. But you can be I'm not gonna say everybody can be a Jay-Z, but the chances of you being a successful entrepreneur from the hood is far more reachable than you being 6'8", 270. You know what I mean? The IQ of Magic Johnson. Like, you see what I'm saying? So I think we need to teach the youth that, one, you don't have to just be an athlete.
Yeah. Thank you.
And or a rapper, which is why I do what I do so much. Because I want to show that you can be in media. You can be a media mogul. We don't have a lot of media outlets in this area at all. So I spent my adult life living in New Jersey and New York, where it's the media capital of the world. So I've literally seen 13-year-olds, on the street giving out interviews, being funny, or like, that's how that starts. So we need to, especially in the South, just teach kids and show kids that, it's not on you to be 10 times better. It's on you to be the best you can be, and then you find the opportunity that appreciates your value. Because and I think we need to teach kids that, most importantly, that just be the best you can be. Everybody can't be an entrepreneur. Everybody can't be a rapper. Everybody can't be the star. You know what I mean? But there's so many things. I don't see black pharmacies. I don't see black convenience stores. I'm trying to take my girl for a mani-pedi date. I don't know of any black nail salons. You know what I mean?
Fully black owned.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. That in radio we look for businesses all the time. I don't know many black restaurants, many black chefs. You know what I mean? You see what I'm getting at? I think we have to show them that you can make a viable living, and show that, this person means just as much to this community and to people as a whole, then, you know, whoever it has 39 million followers on Instagram. You know what I mean? We have to show them the value in being what you want to be. If you want to be a dentist, be the best dentist you can be. I don't know many black dentists.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I'm running through my head because I do this often. Because every time I look to do something, I think in my head, okay, who do I know that does this that's black first? And then I'm forced to go. I don't know any black grocery store owners. You know what I mean? So we have to show them that these are other avenues that you may suck at rapping. A lot of people do. Like, that's not an easy thing to be good at. But you may be a great manager. You may run a record label. You may be a great A&R. But you don't know that if nobody tells you.
I would like to jump in. This is Jason. I think George Floyd is a real and symbolic disruption to us on a personal level and also on a social level worldwide. And I want to speak to young folks to say, let this disruption serve you. Don't let the anger or the trauma put you in a place of channeling anger in a negative way, or the trauma putting you in a place of helplessness. I would encourage you to take care of yourself first, because your health, your mental capacity, your spiritual well-being is important. And to grieve properly, that's important. You know, you don't want to just get out there doing things and you're not healthy. I've seen it too many times when people operating and doing things in anger and become misguided. And so I think once we come to this place of self-care and good health, then we need to start thinking strategically. My regular job is UPS, but I'm looking at now where they're going, and it's like they're using drones. So I'm like, whoa, maybe I should try to check out this drone thing. And so I just recently got my drone pilot's license. You know, and so pay attention to the things that you see. You know, when you see those things, take ownership of your own education. Do not depend on the school system to let you know what you need to know. Take ownership of your own education. Google, go to a library if you don't have a computer. They have computers in the library where you can research. If you find people along the way in your research, reach out to them. Sometimes that's a big step. Some people are intimidated by the bigness of institutions and structures and people with titles. Don't let that get in your way. Go ahead and press your way and set up meetings with people and let them know what you want to do and see if they can plug you in somewhere with things that can be helpful for you. And also, I want to speak to people that would be good mentors to people. This is a two-way street. There are people out there that are in need of resources, in need of relationship, in need of connection. If you have experience that's valuable to our young people, we need to make ourselves available, more available, and find ourselves in places where we are touchable and accessible. Mm-hmm. So we might want to consider putting ourselves in places where we're not normally found and making ourselves available to our young people that wouldn't ordinarily have access to us. And I think with that, we can begin to build something here, you know, something bigger than ourselves that, you know, it's like, traditionally, we as black folk, we haven't done a good job of reaching back for one another. Mm-hmm. And so it's time for us to start taking not just an outward look in terms of this disruption, but taking a good hard look inwardly and saying, how can I reach back to someone and help them up?
That's good. I think there's a couple of things I think about is, one is, I have this thought of like, you know, vulnerability leads to victory. And so allowing yourself, especially as a black man, like be willing to be vulnerable. And I think far too often when you're vulnerable, it's like, man, I'm like super dramatic movie, crying all over the place. And like, no, it's just allowing yourself to be in a space where you can, pour out. We're all emotional beings. Like, and being able to pour out who you are. Like, I think it's a thing of understanding that, one of the greatest people to walk this earth, even they were empathetic, even they were emotional, even they were vulnerable. And I think in that piece is like understanding, like, as Black men, we can do that to help ourselves grow in the communities, that we're in the spaces that we're in. Because what I tell my teams and our supervisors, excellence is, it's a mindset, but it's also is, I tell them, I want you to be excellent every day. But every day, that doesn't mean you're going to be on top of your game. Some days that mean you just like, you know what? I just seen Brother George Floyd get murdered. You know what? I just gotta sit here. And that's you bringing your best. Whereas like 2 weeks from now, it could be, like you are in the classroom knocking out, acing the test, or you are, doing well on a project at work. It just depends. It's a journey that's going to be up and down, but it's what you bring to it every day.
Yeah. To the excellence piece, I think what you were talking about, Eddie, and how people think excellence is just related to either athletics or the music industry, or even just academics, when half the time we know this education system is not the best anyway, and it's not always the determiner of who is the best employee, who is the best manager, who's the best CEO. When I think of excellence, I think about on a day-to-day basis, are you holding yourself to a high standard? Are you holding yourself to maintain value in the good and the worst of moments? And I think that's the part of excellence. So like even when like Sean was saying, by the way, this is Caleb, since I forgot to say that. But like Sean was saying, like even if it is your worst day and whatnot, like you can feel the way you feel, and at the same time, we still hold ourselves to act in a manner to where it's like we hold ourselves to a standard. And I'm not saying, and I feel like people could take that wrong, where it's just like, so you're saying I can't emote and I can't have, I'm like, no, you can emote and have that space to do it, and at the same time, you can also still hold yourself to a standard into how you treat people. True. You can hold yourself to a standard into like how you're gonna handle your work. You can hold yourself to a standard in how you're gonna go about your business. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're just blowing people off and saying like, oh, that's just me, or like, oh, it's because of this, it's like you're choosing to make that choice. And I think it was said earlier, it's like taking ownership of your choices. I think that's still a big part of when it comes to when we talk about excellence. And if I could speak to the mentors and whatnot, when Billy was alluding to it earlier, at my TEDx talk, I was talking about representation, the purpose of your story. And we were talking about how we don't see ourselves in a lot of these careers. So the main thing we see Black men in are the music industry, but specifically athletics. And my personal passion is to get out of that. It's like, obviously LeBron said it and made it first, but you're obviously more than an athlete, but there's more to your identity than just being that. And the fact that being an athlete kind of supersedes you being Black in front of the police is something to think about.
Yeah.
The fact, oh, you on the football team. Oh, my bad, man. My bad. So it's not just that I'm a human.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay, cool. So like when I think about it, I'm like to the mentors and whatnot who are out there, owning the businesses, doing real estate, being the managers, making their own choices to make it right for their families. Can you please be the first, if there isn't someone you have seen at least, and then show the people younger than you that, hey, you can do this too. You can actually have financial wealth as well. You don't have to be in poverty and whatnot, because I've seen our Black community like kind of accept that kind of mindset, even in Christianity, where there's just like this poverty mindset, and it's like, no, we're not made to live like that. And then even as selfless as it will take, like be the first in your family to make generational wealth, to where your kids are set up good, their college is taken care of, their wedding's taken care of, and then your children's college is good, their wedding's taken care of, all that kind of stuff, to where it's like now you teach your children to do the same thing, and then build communities of where that can happen. Because I'm tired of seeing a lot of our communities just accepting the flashiness of today rather than being able to build for tomorrow and the people of tomorrow. Mm-hmm. That's what I would wish we could actually see. So when it comes to the mentors, could you at least as well like be the first if you haven't seen one, and take that on so that it can be maybe a little bit easier for someone else to see you and know that they can do it too.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just say, this is just tagging on, just affirming basically what Caleb said, and this is Ryan, by the way. I think that's one of the big things I always talk about when it comes to poverty. Jason and I have had this conversation before, how such a big issue with it is exposure. What are you actually getting exposed to? And one of the reasons that people aspire to be the rappers and the athletes so often is because that is the thing that, they're exposed to. So I just, want to affirm everything that everybody said with the education piece, even for the people that are in their homes and you're a mentor in your home and you have children. Definitely we have to get comfortable with educating our own, because when people get exposed to those things, that's when they can actually start dreaming about being, the grocery store owner, the pharmacist, whatever it is that it may be, versus the stuff that we tend to elevate and everything else tends to be muted.
Sure. Yeah, I like what Jason and AD said. So, my experience with black mentors has been kind of tricky. I met black mentors that were really willing to invest, but I also met black mentors that I felt like I had to hunt them down. I had to prove to them that them investing into me was worth it. It's just like, black boy, listen, I got a lot of things to do. I'm an important man. Like, listen, I mean, you gotta talk quick. I don't answer emails twice. Like, I'm like, but you don't know my story. You don't know where I come from. Like, I don't speak that language. This is new for me. Like, I didn't grow up like this. Like, I didn't have the same traditional route that you took to get to university. Quite frankly, it feels like I can't even relate to you now. So that's why I appreciate one of my mentors, Dr. Anthony Green. Like, he was one of those mentors. Yeah, right? Yeah. Dr. Green. Like, he was one of the black mentors who really coached me and was patient with me in academia. And I admire mentors that are patient. So me as a mentee who's now a mentor, an advocate, or a bridge, I sometimes felt like I was this guinea pig, like I was a sacrifice. Like, I'm gonna go get the resources that I can get, and whatever I can feed to y'all, I'm gonna give it to y'all. But like, for any mentor that's listening, I'm like, step it up. Like, I'm not saying lower your like, have the expectation high, but be willing to make yourself accessible. And going back to what AD said, this is something that I want to get from you guys real quick, just a real quick. It seems that all of our success comes through white platforms, and we don't own much. We don't have much. How do we, like, from your experiences and the things that you guys are developing, like AD, you got your own show, Caleb, Ryan, you through real estate, like you talked about drawing. I think even in your undergrad, you did engineering undergrad, correct?
Some of that, yeah.
Yeah, some of that, like.
Some of that is better than
You
that.
said, like, so, I mean, your mind works differently than my mind. So, if I could just get you guys to go around real quick, if you could just throw out like a quick blueprint, like a step by step. These are tax laws. These are budgeting strategies. Like, what do we need? How do we build? How do we? If we don't have wealth, if we don't have land, it's like we can't even finance Black America because we have no finance. So
I would say this first, real quick, for your mentorship. What you said was very profound. I would say it is a two-way street. I do think mentors, especially Black men, need to be more accessible, but I also think mentors need to just not come asking for something. So what I mean by that is, if I had a mentor, right? It was an uncle, more of a father figure. When I moved to when I went to school, he helped me get into school because I was being a knucklehead in the streets or whatnot. He would tell me, and he was teaching me how to provide value. He would tell me, all right, in order, because he had a media company at the time, in order for you to get in this building where I'm working with, Puff Daddy and Spike Lee and whatever, you have to go out and show me what you can bring to me. So what I had to do was further my education on what he did.
Mm-hmm.
And it was simple. I just came to him. I was super frustrated. And I tried everything. He was like, I already got that. I already got a secretary. I already got somebody to run me errands, blah, blah, blah. So one day, I was in there and I saw all these blank CDs. Like, this is back, and I'm showing my age.
Blank CDs.
Yeah, so they had the towers where, you burn CDs. You could burn like 20 at a time,
yeah.
right?
What?
Yeah, trust me, I'm being killed. So I go to him and I'm like, hey, who's putting the work that y'all doing the CDs to take to the clients? He was like, you are. That's all I was waiting on. So mentors, be proactive as well, because the world is not always proactive. The people that make the strides are proactive. The world is reactive.
Mm-hmm.
And the people who are proactive are the ones who end up on top, because it's sometimes not who's better, it's who's first. Mm-hmm. And the proactive person is first. I want to say that first. Mm-hmm. Secondly, the blueprint that has worked for me has been not fighting the universe, not fighting God. So how I got into radio was, I didn't even know I had a radio voice. I didn't know what that was. I had a real estate license. I was doing real estate, and I got invited to do a interview on an internet radio show. And then the owner of that station said, you ever thought about doing radio? And I was like, nah. He was like, well, you have a great voice, a great microphone voice, and a great presence. Come back, we'll do a business segment once a week. And that's how that started. And that led from that to another opportunity. And I would say I'm in 5 years of that moment. It's very rare that I say no to an opportunity. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, especially a lot of black men, and I can't speak on a lot of other races. They're the younger generation, just because I come in contact with more black men or black kids. They say no to a lot.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why they're not, in a situation. You know what I mean? Like I did radio for like 2 years straight for free. Like from the radio. I mean, I started doing events and all that stuff off popularity, but I just didn't. He said that, and I said okay, because at the time I'm thinking it can help me with real estate.
Yeah.
And then that led into something else, and then that led into something else, and then somebody said, you play basketball, you want to coach this with me? That led into something else. So then I got money from that, so I was able to do radio for free, because this would pay the bills, and then I could come in. So get in the habit of, I'm still in that habit. You should know, like I've not said no to you yet. So I'm always in the habit of saying yes first before I say no. Now, my no comes when my time. If I feel like you're going to waste my time, then I may think twice. But I'm probably ultimately going to say yeah, because I need to see first. Yeah. So if you're looking to get into anything, no matter what the industry is, first find people who are in that industry, try to add some value, and then just don't say no to anything. Mm-hmm. You'd be surprised the power of yes, what that will get you.
The art of saying yes.
Get you to ask somebody for whatever, because people may be intimidated. I've gotten so far just by asking, hey, you mind if I come use this room? That's how I got in this building. Yeah. I work in this building now because it was one of those things where, hey, you mind if I start doing media in here? Sure, we need media. But you don't know, but coming to this building, they asked me to help them move in here. All right, yeah. Then the conversation ensues that, what do you want to do? Oh, that's cool. We might be able to do something with you in the building. That's how that happens. So the power of yes, I always tell people to just do it, and then whatever comes, if it's not gonna, harm you or put you in jail, depending, because sometimes you gotta
a little wiggle.
Yeah, but say yes. Get in the habit of saying yes. A paycheck is not attached to every opportunity. And I can't remember the guy's name with the hat who's always screaming at athletes to like motivate them. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
One that better than you can breathe.
Yeah. But he said something very great. Like, I'm not big on those guys just because I'm self-motivated, but he said something, and this is my last point. He said the person that's willing to do more at first when he's paid less now will get paid more to do less later. And so that's kind of like what it is. So say yes.
Yeah.
And then figure the rest out later. Even if you don't know it, even if it's not on your resume, you lied on your resume, like we all have.
Yeah.
Just if they hire you, say yes, and then figure it out later. Because 9 times out of 10, that's what every business does, anyways. So,
no, that's good. That's good. I think it's real. I think one of the things for me that I could think about is like I summed up with the statement is think about your skill set and what you have access to. So I like growing up. I mean I was a very good writer. I still am today. Like, you know, I love to write, you know, spoken word, poetry, like just different things and stuff like that. And so I had access to a computer and printer, and I used to write greeting cards for people in the church. And I write greeting cards for people in school. You know, I write poems and stuff like that for people in high school to give to other people and, you know, stuff like that. And that helped make me money at that time. Now I think about today where, you know, I like to do public speaking, life coaching, as I, you know, said earlier. And it came down to really understanding what's the skills that I have and like what is my life telling me? Like what is life setting up? And so, you know, I used to supervise Brother Caleb here, and there were many times where I come back from a meeting and he was just in my office.
Eating some honey buns, but yeah.
Getting a little Debbie honey buns and stuff like that. But he be in there studying, and then we just get to chopping it up. And I started to realize, like, those are, like, the opportunities where, you know, you get to use the skills that I had of being a motivational speaker, motivating people, life coach, everything like that. And that's one person. And then, you know, I look up and it's somebody else. I look up and somebody else. Now, right now, I'm not charging a fee to do, you know, like, I'm building that brand up. Whereas now when, you know, COVID-19 hit, I told my boss, I was like, man, what do I do? And she was like, do what you're good at. I started putting out weekly wisdom videos, weekly devotional videos and stuff like that. And then, you know, people sharing them, and I'm starting to see, like, first ones had, like, maybe 10 views, and that was, like, my coworkers. And now I'm seeing, like, 35, 45, 50 views on, like, 2 days after. And it's just the concept of, like, here's what I'm good at. And this other opportunity life is presenting me. And I know that one day that the more and more I do that will build up to creating a, you know, revenue stream of some sort. But I also know that I'm doing something that I am passionate about and that I truly enjoy doing.
Yeah, Jason here again. I'm sorry. So I guess I loved a lot of things that I've heard. I'm probably just going to say the same thing in a different way. I think attitudinally that we can't.
it's a good word. It's a big
No,
word.
good word.
Write that one down.
We can't despise starting small. So many times people want to go out there and just hit it big, you know, with whatever they do. But like AD and like my brother here was just saying, you got to be willing to learn possibly for free beyond the thing that you're interested in. But if there's something that, like, for myself, for a long time I thought it was engineering. But as you walk through, sometimes you're gonna see that, no, I care about this more. And so I will go back to something I said earlier. Self-discovery for us is very important because that's where your motivation is going to come from, where you know what you care about and also what you're interested in. So that journey sometime is going to evolve into something different from what you started out from. But don't be discouraged. You should still walk the path. Just know how to adjust when you see it, when you see something changing. And so for me, and that's what I would encourage, once you see that thing, look for opportunity. be observant. Try to be self-aware, because opportunity a lot of times is right in front of us. And then when you find that thing, like what I was told growing up by a lot of people that I didn't understand, they said this word, apply yourself. And I was like, what does that mean? You know. So an analogy I would give to say to apply yourself, imagine that you have a piece of bread and you have peanut butter and you want to make a sandwich. You're not just going to spread that peanut butter on half of the bread. You're going to spread it on the whole bread. So whatever your area of interest is, spread your efforts upon the entire body of work to understand it, to know how it works, to know who's in it, know the competition if it's a business. Spread yourself over that whole canvas of that interest. And when you start small, what you're doing when you work for people is you're discovering opportunities. You're seeing how the industry works. You're sharpening your skills. You're honing your axe. So when you take one swing, when you make it big, you can make it a good swing. Instead of having to hit so many times, you get the advantage of learning other people's mistakes. And so when you venture in whatever area interest you are in, do not despise starting small. And another thing, like for me, with my personal thing in terms of like financial wealth, but it's to serve a greater purpose, is looking at investing. You know, like learn the terminology, learn who's out there that's doing it. Start small. First, you need to understand that you don't invest with money that you can't afford to lose. So it all starts with making sure that you understand how to budget the money that you do have to be able to support yourself. And if you have a family, support your family. And then practice saving. And when you save, use that money to make moves and to try to grow an account. You know, so that's my thing. Start small, look for opportunity, and hone your skills and apply yourself.
If I'll say a quick one. So I'll start off with the budgeting part. So for me, it's been a huge, I think it's been a big leap for me when it comes to budgeting and whatnot, because when you don't come from
Financial literacy, yeah.
Yeah, financial literacy, financial discipline, how it works, what it looks like practically on a dollar-to-dollar, penny-to-penny basis. It's been a lot of learning the past 3 years, but I've been able to see what at least a small amount of wealth growth and how that looks, even for myself. But when I was budgeting, what I saw was, okay, let me at least try and make sure I'm living in the spot to where at least one paycheck could pay for like, if anything, double my rent. If that could, like, that was my mindset. If I could go that route, that's my mindset for right now. Because when you're living on a graduate assistantship, you only get so much money. You know what I'm saying? So you try to make it work. But I'm over here like, okay, where can I live that's going to allow me to pay my rent twice on one paycheck right now? And then I obviously like setting about X amount to make sure I'm saving. And then when I'm saving, let me reach a goal to make sure it's 5 to 6 months of rent, 5 to 6 months of groceries, 5 to 6 months of insurance, and things of that manner, because those are necessities that need to be done. Because as long as I have food, if I have shelter, and I have my transportation to get me to my job that gets me that money, I'll be set. And so I think in those kind of terms, you can think about where you're trying to put your money when you're trying to budget it, and that may help give us clarity. I'm not saying I have all the answers, but that's what I've learned in regards to budgeting. And then in addition, I'm going through, if you all have ever heard of Dave Ramsey, some people think it's like, I don't know about him. I think some of his principles are good. And in other ways, the way he talks, it could be a conversation. But I do think that the pieces that he gives are very helpful in how I'm looking at it. So to the budget side and the financial piece, in addition to my next point, I will say is go against the grain of what your family has done that was not working. Stop doing the same stuff that your family was doing, expecting something different. And that's the definition of crazy and insanity. You're trying to do the same thing, expecting different results. So, I mean, my coach used to say that at the same time we were running track, UF, shout out to Coach Holloway, but but he would say that, he was like, we're not going to keep doing the same thing if it's not working, and expect different results. So So he would switch up stuff, and then stuff would start working for me. And in the same way, we have to stop doing the same principles, stop acting the same way, stop speaking the same way, stop thinking the same way our family was doing, or the people we were around, and how they were doing it, so that we actually see results. Because we go out there thinking we can talk to anybody any kind of way, we can act any kind of way, spend our money any kind of way, and expect that we're going to be taken seriously. I'm not going to lie, as black people, sometimes we're just not taken seriously because of the way we act, and we choose to act that way. I'm not saying that's everyone, but I'm saying there are some people who give us that rep. And I'm talking about that. My last blueprint that I would say is, and of course I'm going to put the shameless plug in, go to counseling if you can. I'm a big advocate for counseling. I just graduated my master's in counselor ed, in mental health counseling, and specializing in sports psychology. But my biggest thing is this. Counseling is not a bad thing. They're not trying to like screw you over in your head. They're literally trying to hear where you're coming from. They're trying to help you sort out through your thoughts and put it on the table. And at the same time, it's kind of the same safe space as right now, where you can just put it all on the table and they're not going to look at you and try and judge you. And if you can't afford counseling, is there a mentor? Is there a trusted person who can have that same kind of conversation where you feel safe in doing so, and they're not going to try and backlash at the same time? Because I know in our community sometimes we can't afford counseling. Counseling can be a lot. I do know, because it was a lot for me when I was trying to go. I was like, hey, I need to back up off of this. I'm gonna just do some counseling through my program, and and that'll help me out. But in the event you can, I really advise that, because that really helps us. Unwind some of the old and bad habits that we have, or the ways of thinking that we need to start adjusting and changing. So those would be my blueprints.
So I try to take a note from Caleb. This is Ryan speaking, and just write or jot a couple things down so I can stay quick and on task. And some of this is echoing sentiments that have already been said, but I think, like Jason was saying, definitely not despising, small beginnings. Many people got phenomenal opportunities out of starting small. So not feeling like just because this is seemingly insignificant, whatever that thing is, that it's not playing a greater purpose for whatever that next step is. You never know how what you're doing now is setting you up or preparing you for that next role that you're about to step in. I think too is understanding that dreams will not further your goals or your process, but education will. So it's great to have a dream, but it can't stop at a dream. Like, actually go pick up a book, get a mentor, go to the library, Google. Everything is accessible now through computer, but actually, educating yourself on how do I get to the place that I'm trying to get to. I think a third thing is take the things that you're passionate about and try to discover where your passion feels a need. When your passion meets a need, that's actually when you found your purpose. So, what are the things that I'm passionate about, the things that are already in me? What is a need that can actually fulfill? Because that's often where, you'll find some of your greatest purpose. Knowing that if you do these things, opportunities will come. I think a fourth thing is, act now as if you are already the person that you are trying to become. So not despising not only the beginning, but not despising yourself and your own value and what you have to bring to the table. So if it is an entrepreneur, if it is an athlete, whatever it is, what are the people who are in these positions and places, what are they actually doing? How are they carrying themselves, and how can I begin carrying myself in that way even before I've made it to that point? I think Jason talked about investing. I believe if you're gonna have a job, and many of us, do and have had jobs and have worked for other people at different points, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I would say you have to figure out a way to be able to invest in yourself and to pay yourself. So if you're getting a paycheck, whatever that paycheck is, you need to be able to figure out how to create some type of budget where you are putting yourself within that budget, meaning that I'm setting aside $50 a paycheck, $20 a paycheck, $85 a paycheck, whatever it is, to say this is to invest in me. So if I've got an idea, if there's a business that I want to do, if there's, whatever it is, this is money that is being set aside so that as I'm working every day to feed somebody else's family, and fatten their pockets, I'm going to make sure that I'm investing into myself so that at some point, I have something that can, come back to my own family and to my own community. Caleb said it, I think, budget every dollar. If you can know where your money is going, many people that I get to sit down with and counsel are shocked when you actually, so there's programs like Mint, .com that you can use, and you can put in your credit cards, you can put in bank accounts, and it will literally show you where every dollar is going to. So you know what you're spending on food, what you're spending on, groceries, on gas, and all these things. And many people are really surprised to find out where their money is going. So people will say, I don't have enough money for whatever. But then when you see where money is being spent, you realize, oh yeah, if you ate out 2 times less a week, that's $25 right there. If you didn't do this, that's another $10. And before you look at it, a lot of people actually have more income to do things with than they actually realize they do. And even just to put myself out there, so we haven't started yet. I mentioned in the beginning, just to even put myself as a resource too. One of the businesses I have is Kids and Heirs, and that's kind of a blueprint that we're trying to put together to teach other people how do they start online businesses and e-commerce businesses if they got an idea they want to start an e-commerce business around. But the second business, Legacy Visioneering, the whole reason that we created Legacy Visioneering, the meaning behind it is how do I take a vision and engineer that vision into a legacy. And so part of our purpose with this is being able to especially teach Black families, young adults, young men, young women, to teach them about the 3 pillars of wealth. So traditionally, the 3 pillars of wealth that people, regardless of who they are, have been able to build generational wealth from are 3 things. One is investing. The second is real estate. And the third is entrepreneurship. Yeah. So we'll be putting together some counseling things. We'll be putting together some educational pieces, some courses that, are affordable, that aren't, $5,000, to get into this, to figure out how to do these things, but how you can have a very entry level of, if I've never invested, this is how you buy your first stock, today. You can go and do this and start kind of investing. The reason I got the real estate license, I've had somewhat of a background in investing, but I haven't been a licensed real estate agent long. I got the real estate license as a part of this business so I could practically help people to say, okay, how do we budget and do the things we need to do to help you get into your first home? So you're not just renting, but you're actually moving from a renter to an owner. If you are an owner, how do you budget to pay down a mortgage quickly so that you can become an investor and actually get in investment properties? A lot of these things are more realistic than people often realize. You just have to have the how to actually to do it. And then entrepreneurship is the third thing. So helping families, if they've got some idea or some vision and they say, hey, I've thought about this, we're passionate about this, we just don't know what the next step is. I don't know how to create an LLC. I don't know, what I need to talk to an accountant about, taxes, how to set, some of the very practical things. We want to be able to help people, with some of those things and just start taking steps in eventually all 3 of those areas. But any education you can do on your own, I would say in those 3 things, investing, real estate, entrepreneurship, again, traditionally, those are the 3 pillars of wealth and how generational wealth is often built. So,
you said mint.com, that's what it was?
Mint.com, MINT.com.
Or you can build your own young Black man.
Yeah.
and crazy, I was thinking, I read something that said Black people make less than 15% of the population in America, but we're the number 1 consumers in America.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, don't even get me started.
Another episode.
But I think this is important because a lot of people, one of the things people don't realize is, I talk about all the times, even since integration, one of the things that we don't realize, integration was important because it opened a lot of doors from us. But if you look at, as a community, what we actually have right now, we have less Black businesses now than we did back then. We own less land today than we own then. Like education in a lot of ways is less for our families now than it was back then. Because one of the things that happened is other doors got open to us. We rushed to patronize, all of these other places. And as a result, a lot of the black-owned businesses, so now many white businesses, they were getting 100% of their community and then, a large portion of ours. And we lost a lot of businesses and land and things as a result. So when you talk about sensitivity, going back to what AD said, I think a lot of people are waking up to understand, like, hey, there's power in ownership. Like, we really need to start owning some things and putting black dollars back into the black community.
This is something I was thinking about when I was listening to everyone speak. Don't get good at what you're bad at. Get great at what you're good at. And just keep being excellent.
Yes, Jason here. Thank you, first of all, for having me here, Billingston. I really value your work, and I just want to also give thanks and just matched respect to our panel here and the guys that I'm sitting in company of, great men. And if any of you are interested in reaching out to me, I am at Jam Springs, JAMSPRING, Z as in zebra, at yahoo.com. Be happy to talk with you if there's any interest that you have in having a mentor or any information or any knowledge that or resources that you may need. I can put you in contact with. Thank you.
And this is Ryan here again, echoing Jason's sentiments. Thank you so much. I mean, what you guys are doing is phenomenal. If I can be a resource at all to any individual or families, probably the easiest place, Facebook, definitely on there, just at Ryan Beecher. I have the Twitter, the Instagram. I think they're the same thing, Ryan Beecher. But it's Ryan, R-Y-A-N, Beecher, B-E-A-C-H-E-R. But Facebook will probably be the easiest, and then you can also email at rwbeecher@ryanbeecher.com. So it should be real easy to remember. Right. Or support at ryanbeecher.com, and we'll definitely get back. We're really passionate about wanting to help people move forward in this stuff.
This is Sean, everybody. Peace and blessings to you. So I just want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you, Willis. Thank you just for, you all even listening. So you can reach out to me on Instagram at the Sean John _son. So at THESEANJOHN_SON. Or you can email me through my brand email, Storytime Ministries. So you can, it's storytimeministries.20.20@gmail.com.
Thanks everybody for listening. Thank you, Brother Billy, my brother, for making this happen. To everyone else who is here doing it. Again, my name is Caleb Chambliss, and if you want to reach out at all, you can email me at calebchambliss8@gmail.com. That's CALEB as in boy, CHAM as in Mary, B as in boy, LISS 8@gmail.com. Hey, I had to do this over the phone.
Customer
service. I had to make sure y'all could hear. Like, okay, Chambers, never an ERS there.
Mr. Chambers.
Okay. The best way to reach me is Instagram or Twitter at ChefBoyAD. Chef, how you spell chef? Boy, how you spell boy? The letters AD_. It's that simple. Both for Instagram and Twitter. Check us out. You can follow, and we get updates. I gotta edit one tonight, I think. Whatever. Yeah, something else I was about to say. Whatever. It'll come to me at 3 a.m. Hashtag all truth, no facts.
Hey. It's a wrap.
And the truth shall set you free.